Have you ever woken up somewhere you don't remember going? Or found something you did in your sleep? For most of us, sleepwalking is just a funny story to tell later. But what if the things you did in your sleep weren't just funny? What if they were deadly? Tonight, we're diving into one of the most chilling and perplexing cases in legal history. The story of Kenneth Parks, a man who claimed he was asleep when he committed a terrible crime. It was the early morning of May 24, 1987, in a quiet suburb of Toronto, Canada. 23-year-old Kenneth Parks, a husband and father, got out of bed, completely asleep. He drove 14 miles to his in-laws' home. Still in a deep state of sleep, he entered their house, attacked his mother-in-law, Barbara Ann Woods, fatally and seriously injured his father-in-law, Dennis Woods. Then, he got back in his car and drove straight to a police station. Covered in blood and with severely injured hands, he walked in and told the officers, "I think I have just killed 2 people. The strange part? He had no memory of what he had just done. He was confused, his hands were mangled, and he was genuinely unaware of the horror that had just unfolded. The police were baffled. Parks had a good relationship with his in-laws. He had no motive. So what happened? This case hinged on a single incredible question. Can a person commit such a violent act while completely asleep? And if so, are they responsible for their actions? This defense, known as homicidal somnambulism or sleepwalking murder, is extremely rare and very difficult to prove. The prosecution argued that Parks was faking it, that this was just an elaborate excuse to get away with murder. They painted a picture of a man under immense stress. Parks had a serious gambling addiction, he was deeply in debt, and he had recently been fired from his job for embezzling money. Wasn't it more likely that he snapped under the pressure and then invented the sleepwalking story to cover his tracks? To figure this out, the defense team brought in a team of sleep experts. They put Parks through a battery of tests, including multiple sleep studies. What they found was astonishing. The EEG scans showed that Parks had a highly unusual brainwave pattern during sleep. He had a history of sleepwalking, as did several members of his family. The experts concluded that the combination of severe stress and a genetic predisposition to sleep disorders could have triggered a rare and violent episode of somnambulism. Imagine the jury. They had to decide if this seemingly normal man was a cold-blooded killer or the victim of a bizarre medical condition. The defense's argument was that Parks was acting like an automaton, a robot. His body was moving, but his conscious mind, the part of him that makes choices, that knows right from wrong, was completely offline. He wasn't choosing to drive. He wasn't choosing to attack. His body was just going through the motions, controlled by the primitive parts of his brain. The key to the defense was proving that Parks's actions were involuntary. Think about it like a seizure. A person having a seizure isn't choosing to convulse. Their body is acting on its own. The experts argued that this was a similar situation. They presented evidence that the plan to visit his in-laws was likely formed while he was awake and worrying about how to tell them about his financial troubles. But the plan was executed while he was in a state of deep sleep, with no conscious control. The drive itself was a testament to this. It was a route he had driven countless times, something he could do on autopilot. The prosecution fought back hard. They questioned the reliability of the sleepwalking defense. How could someone perform such complex tasks, driving, finding a key, committing an attack, all while asleep? It seemed unbelievable. They highlighted his motive, the stress from his gambling debts and job loss. They suggested he was a desperate man who committed a desperate act and then concocted a convenient alibi. The trial was a media sensation. The sleepwalker killer became a headline fixture. The public was divided. Some saw a man trying to escape justice, while others saw a tragic figure caught in a nightmare he couldn't control. In the end, the jury had to weigh the evidence. On one side, a clear motive and a horrific crime. On the other, extensive medical testimony from multiple experts, all agreeing that Parks was, in all likelihood, completely asleep. They looked at the lack of a cover-up. Parks didn't try to hide the evidence. He drove directly to the police, confessed immediately, and seemed genuinely horrified and confused when he finally woke up to the reality of what had happened. After hours of deliberation, the jury came back with a verdict that shocked the nation. They found Kenneth Parks not guilty. The judge acquitted him of all charges, ruling that his actions were involuntary. The Court of Appeals and even the Supreme Court of Canada later upheld this decision. Kenneth Parks was a free man. The case remains one of the most studied and debated examples of homicidal somnambulism in legal history. It forces us to ask deep questions about consciousness, free will, and responsibility. If your mind is asleep, but your body commits a crime, are you truly guilty? The law in this one extraordinary case said no. The story of Kenneth Parks is a haunting reminder that the human mind is still a vast and mysterious territory. The things that happen in the shadows of our sleep can sometimes be more terrifying than any waking nightmare. It's a case that blurs the line between medical anomaly and criminal intent, leaving us with more questions than answers. If you or someone you know is struggling with sleep disorders or severe stress, please know that help is available. Talking to a doctor or a mental health professional can make a world of difference. There are resources in the description below if you need support. What do you think about this case? Do you believe the jury made the right decision? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story as fascinating as I did, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the most compelling cases out there. See you next time.